You hear the words, "I do not go." And what do you think? Breakup, right? But what if a poem that starts with those exact words is actually one of the most profound love letters ever written? We're going to dive into this 400-year-old masterpiece by John Donne, probably written for his wife Anne before one of his big trips. This isn't a poem about falling out of love. It's an incredible, masterful argument for a love that just completely conquers distance.
So, right out of the gate, Donne just lays it all out there. Sweetest love, I do not go, for weariness of thee. It's so direct, so tender. He's basically jumping right in to tackle her biggest fears head on. You can almost feel the quiet urgency in his voice. He's making it crystal clear. This is not goodbye, this is me reassuring you.
And to make his case, he doesn't just wing it. He builds this incredible 5-part argument, with each stanza acting like a new piece of evidence. So we're going to walk through it together, step by step. We'll see how he goes from this kind of surprising reason for leaving all the way to this beautiful promise that they can never really be apart.
All right, first up, he knows he's leaving, and his #1 priority is to make sure she understands why. He needs to prove to her that his reasons are pure, that this isn't what she thinks it is.
Okay, let's take a look at this whole first stanza. He kicks things off by listing all the things this departure is not about. He's not going because he's tired of her or because he's hoping to find someone better. And then he drops the real reason. And honestly, it's a little strange.
And what's so smart about this is how he just tackles her insecurities right away. He's literally saying, I'm not bored of you, and I'm not looking for someone else. He's basically clearing away all the potential drama before he even gets to his main point. It's just a really powerful move.
And here it is. This is where we get that classic John Donne twist. You know, that metaphysical poetry style known for its super clever, brainy arguments? He says he's leaving, get this, as a rehearsal, a practice run for death. The idea is, since they have to be separated by death eventually, why not practice with these little feigned deaths, these temporary goodbyes? It sounds totally wild, I know, but his goal is to make this current separation feel way less scary.
Okay, so he's laid out his strange motive. Now he's shifting gears. He's moving into a kind of logical proof. And he's about to use this huge cosmic example, the sun itself, to prove something incredibly personal, that he's coming back.
He basically says, hey, look at the sun, it left last night, and look, it's back today. He's taking this super reliable, everyday thing and using it as the starting point for a promise that's actually even bigger.
So let's just break this awesome comparison down. Think about it. The sun doesn't want to come back. It has no feelings, no desire nor sense. And its journey is enormous, but it always returns. The speaker, on the other hand, has a way shorter trip and, more importantly, a much, much better reason to hurry back.
And that's the whole point right there. His motivation, his love for her, is what gives him more wings and spurs. That's what's going to get him home even faster than the sun. It's just this incredible way of saying his love is literally a more powerful force than the mechanics of the solar system. Wow.
All right, moving on to stanza 3. After that big logical argument, the poem kind of pivots. It gets a little more philosophical. He starts thinking about this weird quirk in human nature, and it's really a warning for his lover.
So this whole stanza is about something we all do, right? How we deal with good times versus bad times. Just listen to the contrast he sets up. How we can't do anything about making good things last, but we're experts at making bad things worse.
He starts with this line that just feels so true for everyone. Oh, how feeble is man's power. You know? When good things happen, we can't make them last a second longer. We're totally powerless to hold on to joy.
But when bad stuff happens, oh, that's a whole different story. He says we basically roll out the red carpet for it. We give it our strength, we make it last longer, we obsess over it. And this is his hidden message to her, his plea. Please don't do this with me leaving.
And that big philosophical idea leads straight into his most emotional, most personal argument yet. He's about to explain exactly why her sadness is so bad for them. It's not just her feelings. He's saying it physically hurts him.
I mean, the language here is just so intense, so physical. Her sighs aren't just air, they're literally sighing his soul away. Her tears make his life's blood decay. His whole point is that they are so deeply connected that her sadness physically damages him, even from far away.
And that phrase, unkindly kind, that's just genius. He gets it. He knows she's crying because she loves him. That's the kind part. But the result of those tears is just awful for him. That's the unkindly part. He's showing her this terrible paradox. Her love-fueled grief is actually hurting him.
And this leads to his killer argument. He says, look, the best part of me, my very life, is inside you. So if you're wasting that away by being sad, how can you say you love me? It's a really bold move, maybe even a little manipulative, but it all comes from this core belief that they are not two separate people anymore.
So, here we are, the final piece of his argument. He's reassured her, he's used logic, he's made this super emotional appeal, and now he brings it all home with the ultimate comfort. He's going to give her a whole new way to think about them being apart.
Let's look at this final stanza. This is where he ties everything together and delivers this beautiful, almost spiritual conclusion that completely changes the meaning of the word parted. He starts with one last warning. He's like, don't let your mind race and imagine terrible things happening to me. Why? Because he's afraid that fate might actually listen to her fears and make them come true. He's basically begging her to stay positive for both of them. And then he gives her this gorgeous, simple picture to hold on to. He says, don't think of this as a real separation. Just imagine that we've turned away from each other to go to sleep. You know, the connection is still there, 100%. It's just a temporary pause. And that, right there, is the core message of the whole poem. If two people keep each other alive in their hearts, then being physically apart, it's just an illusion. They can never, ever truly be parted. It's just an amazing message. And, you know, it feels more important now than ever. We live in a world of constant connection, right? Texts, video calls, we're never really gone. But this 400-year-old poem makes you stop and think about a deeper kind of connection. One that isn't about Wi-Fi signals, but about a love that literally makes two people one. So it leaves you with a question. What does it really mean to be present with someone or to be absent?
All right, let's dive into a poem that is just wow. It's part fairy tale, part absolutely brutal takedown. We're talking about one of the wittiest, most cynical, and just brilliantly crafted pieces from the 17th century, John Donne's song, though you probably know it by its famous first line, "Go and catch a falling star." So before we really get into the nitty-gritty, I've got a question for you. Just think for a second, what is the most impossible thing you can possibly imagine? Got it? Okay, hold on to that thought, because it's absolutely key. That's exactly where the poet John Donne kicks things off, by setting up a kind of baseline for what's truly impossible. You know, this poem doesn't ease you in. Nope. The first stanza is a straight-up challenge. The speaker basically throws down the gauntlet and dares you, the reader, to check off this to-do list of 7 completely impossible tasks. And, as we're about to see, this whole elaborate setup is all to prove a much, much bigger and way more cynical point. And he starts with a classic, right? A falling star is beautiful, it's fleeting, and you literally can't touch it. So that command to catch one, it immediately sets this fantastical, almost fairy tale-like tone of impossibility. Okay, now this next one gets weird. Donne goes deep into folklore here. So the mandrake root, it was this plant that people believed looked like a little person and would let out this blood-curdling scream if you pulled it from the ground. The idea of getting one with child, I mean, it's not just impossible, it's bizarre. It's kind of grotesque, really. And it pushes the poem's imagery from just fantasy right into the territory of the absurd. And you can feel the stakes getting higher with each line. We go from absurd to straight up deadly. Because in all the old myths, what did mermaids do? They lured sailors to their deaths with their songs. To hear them sing meant you were done for. So now the speaker isn't just challenging us to do something impossible, he's challenging us to do something fatal. So after that, the list kind of shifts gears. We move away from these physical tasks to more abstract, totally unanswerable questions. You know, things like, where are the past years? These aren't just things you can't do, these are things you can't even know. He's really covering all his bases here, from the physical world to the, well, metaphysical. So, after hitting us with this barrage of 7 completely different, totally impossible goals, Donne has laid his trap. It's brilliant, really. He's created this very clear standard for what impossible actually means. And from this point on, everything else in the poem is going to be measured against that standard. Okay, so we have this wild list of impossible things. Where is he going with all this? Well, in the second stanza, the speaker lays out a quest. He's sending someone on this epic, lifelong journey to find something that he claims is even harder to find than catching a star. And get this, he's not talking to just any old person. He's addressing a very specific kind of guy, a seeker. Someone who's born to strange sights, who can literally see things invisible. The implication here is crystal clear. Even this person, with these incredible supernatural powers, is doomed to fail. And the scale of this quest? It's just staggering. 10,000 days and nights. Let's just put that in perspective. That's almost 27.5 years of nonstop searching, long enough for your hair to turn white. This isn't some weekend trip, this is a whole lifetime's work. Now, during this epic journey, the seeker is going to see all strange wonders, every amazing thing the world has to offer. And the speaker does this on purpose, you see. He builds up how grand and incredible this journey is, listing all the amazing things that you can find, which just makes the one thing you can't find all the more shocking when he finally reveals it. And here it is, the big reveal. After almost 30 years of searching every corner of the globe, the one and only thing the supernatural seeker comes back and swears is true is that a woman who is both beautiful and faithful simply doesn't exist anywhere. But wait, because Donne is not done yet. Oh no. The third and final stanza is where he delivers his signature witty twist. Just when you think the argument is settled, the speaker just completely flips the whole thing on its head with this move of just brilliant and incredibly cynical logic. And this right here is the poem's central paradox. For just a second, the speaker seems to back down. He says, hey, if you actually find this perfect woman, let me know. I'd love to meet her. It'd be a sweet pilgrimage. But then, in the very next breath, he's like, actually, never mind. Don't tell me. I wouldn't go. He wouldn't even walk next door to meet her. So what's with this crazy, jarring reversal? Okay, so here it comes, the final and honestly devastating piece of his argument. He's about to explain exactly why he wouldn't even bother to go next door. He basically says, all right, for the sake of argument, let's say she does exist. But her perfection, her faithfulness would last for a ridiculously short amount of time. This is the moment. This is where all that hyperbole, all the clever wit, and all that deep-seated cynicism just smash together. The final 3 lines of this poem deliver a punchline that is so sharp, so biting, that people have been arguing about it for over 400 years. No joke. So he concedes the point, but only for a tiny, tiny moment. He's like, okay, fine. Let's say she was true and faithful at the exact second you met her. I'll even give you this. Let's say she stayed faithful for the whole time it took you to write me a letter about it. But even as he's granting her that single moment of truth, the cynical clock is already ticking because he knows that she will be false ere I come to 2 or 3. Wow, his point is just devastatingly sharp. Her faithfulness disappears in the time it would take him to just walk next door. It is the ultimate cynical punchline. And there you have it, the poem's final, brutal equation. All that stuff at the beginning, catching a star, hearing mermaids sing, that was just the warm-up act. In the speaker's mind, the real impossibility, the one thing that's more fantastical than any myth or magic, is finding a woman who can stay both beautiful and faithful. So this whole thing leaves us with a really tough question, right? The poem is, without a doubt, a masterpiece of clever writing and language. It's brilliant. But its central message is so deeply cynical and, yeah, to our ears today, pretty misogynistic. So what really makes you wonder, can brilliant art make a really bitter idea seem beautiful? And is that something we should just admire, or is it something we really need to question?